Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm taking a look at Ramen Ramen by Brendan Hansen, published by Japanime Games. This is a set collection card game for 1 to 4 players, which plays in about half an hour for ages 8 and up. And before I start explaining the rules and sharing my thoughts, I'd like to point you towards my Patreon page, because if you'd like to support what I do, it's really appreciated, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month or more, and in return you'll get early access to all of my videos, access to some Patreon exclusive posts, and your name in the credits of all of my videos as a supporter. Also, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because YouTube tells me that only a small percentage of all of my views come from actual subscribers. So if everybody who actually visits my channel also hits that subscribe button, it's free, I won't spam you, then I can grow my channel by quite a lot. And that is also very, very much appreciated. All right, let's get started with the rules. To set up a game of Ramen Ramen for 2 players, you set out the 3 cards with the bowls in the center of the table, and then you take the deck of cards and you give that a shuffle, and you deal every player 4 cards. So if this is a 2-player game, I'm dealing each player 4 cards like so, and then you take the rest of the deck and put that near the bowls and flip over the first 4 cards. So you just take 4 cards and you flip them over, and this is referred to as the fridge. Decide who gets to go first. The rulebook suggests the player who last ate a bowl of ramen, and then you're ready to start the game. Let's explain the rules. The goal of the game is to be the best ramen noodle chef in town, and you do that by putting ingredients on these bowls. And you want to put as many different ingredients in there as you can. But before I explain how that works, I need to explain the cards. So there are 7 different ingredients, and they go from values 0 to 7. So you got 8 values. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And as you can see, there's a menma here and there as well. But just to illustrate, there's these 7 different ingredients. You got the kamaboko, which is the pink card here, menma, which is the very light beige card. You got nori, seaweed, which is black. We got chashu, which is red. You got the shiitake, which is brown. The ajitama, which is yellow. And the negi, which is green. And as you can see, they go from 0 through 7. So if we take a look at our hand, and maybe this is what we got dealt. So we got these cards. Now what you do on your turn is you choose 2 bowls to place 2 cards on. So I might want to put this card on this bowl, and maybe I want to put this card on this bowl. After you've done that, you've got 2 cards left. Then you pick one of the 4 cards in the fridge. So let's say I want to pick this card. Then you fill the fridge with a card from the stack, and you pick a second card from the stack. Then it's the second player's turn, and maybe they want to put this ingredient over here and this ingredient over here. Choose a new ingredient from the fridge, flip a new card over, and pick one from the stack. Now it's my turn again, and while I can put the same ingredient on a bowl that already has that ingredient, it's not very wise to do so, because you score points according to the number of different ingredients on each bowl. So I'd rather put it here. Because as you can see on this scoring card that you can hand to each player, there's 4 of these, it tells you that the number of ingredient types gives you a certain number of points. So with just one type you get 0 points. With 2 different types you get 1 point. 3 gets you 2 points, 4 gets you 3 points, 5 gets you 5 points, 6 different ingredients gets you 7 points, and if you have all 7 in there, you get 10 points. So maybe I want to put my second card over here. I'll pick a new card, flip a new card over, and draw one from the stack. So when do you score bowls? Whenever the total of all the numbers of ingredients on a bowl is 14 or more, then that means that dish is complete. And then after you've played both of your cards onto these dishes, you pick the completed bowls and you take all those cards and put them face down in a stack in front of you. So let's say, for example, continuing this example round, this player puts a card here because they want to keep the value low and add new ingredients. And maybe they're putting, let's see, there's already shiitake here and here. So we'll put something else perhaps over here. They choose a new card from the fridge, flip one over and take one from the stack. And now it's back to me. So I can start counting because here we have 7 points. If I add another 7, that would complete the bowl, but it's only 3 ingredients, meaning just 2 points. So that's not a whole lot. If I put it here, this is also 7 points, but already has 4 cards instead of 2. So I could put it there, but there's already nori there. So if I add the 7 here to make 14, then I still only have 4 different ingredients. So I might want to not do that. Now I could put one of these there, and then it would not be 14 points yet, because the highest value I have is the 6 here, so I'd be up to 13. No, actually, this is 8. So it would be 14. So the best thing to do is probably play one of these. Let's see. So I might want to play, let's see, let's play this card here. And then I need to play to another bowl. So maybe I want to put this one here. And then I'll select a new card, flip one over, and pick another from the stack. So that was risky because this dish is now 13 points, and the next player will probably want to score that. And they can play any card they want, preferably, of course, a different ingredient. So if they have an ingredient that's not in here yet with a high value, they can play that because it goes well over 14 and get rid of high cards because you kind of want to hold on to the lower cards to, you know, make bigger dishes. So they've got the nori, but that's already in there. Same for the shiitake and the ajitama. So they could play this and complete the bowl because that would make 14. But it is a very low card, so maybe they want to hold on to that instead. On the other hand, if they pass the turn to the other player back to me, then I could finish that bowl, and maybe I could do that. But I seem to also have colors that are already in here. So, but you don't know each other's cards. You hold your cards in your hand, of course. I'm playing them open here for the example. So it's a bit of pressure luck here if the other player is going to complete that bowl or not. So maybe I just want to see what this is 10 and that is 12. So let's see, with 10 we could still play a high card. So I could play this here and make that 15 and score that, which is 3 points. I could do that and get rid of a high card. And you know what? I'm just gonna risk it. This player is just gonna finish that bowl. So then they first played all of their cards. Then you check to see if a bowl is 14 or more, which is the case in these. This is 15 and this is exactly 14 if I'm not mistaken. So you take those cards, you make stacks and you put them in front of yourself on the table and make sure to keep them apart. You can like stack them like this every time or just make separate stacks. And then again, the player can pick a card, flip over a card and pick a card blind. Now whenever you have a bowl that's completed, you flip it down and you are not allowed to look at these until the end of the game when you score. Play continues like this until the deck is empty, all the cards have been taken and all the cards from your hand have been played. And that's when you simply look at the dishes that you scored. So in this case, we had a dish with 6 different ingredients and a dish with 4 different ingredients. You check the card, and of course at the end of the game you'd have a lot more, hopefully. So you've got 6 points for the 7 different types of ingredients and 3 points, so that makes a total of 10 points. And of course at the end game you'll have a lot more points as well. And of course the player with the most points is the winner and the best ramen chef. In case of a tie, then the player who served the most bowls wins the game, and if that's still a tie, then the player with the least total cards is the winner since they didn't waste ingredients. And in the rare case that that is still a tie, then players simply share the victory. A 3-player game works slightly differently because in a 3-player game, each player has one bowl in front of them, which is their own personal bowl, but players can still play cards in every bowl. The only difference is that you can only score from the bowl in front of you. So whenever the bowl in front of you is complete, served either by playing a card into it or from another player playing a card into it that brings it over 14 or at 14 points, then that player receives that bowl for scoring. And no other rules are changed. In a 4-player game, you play in 2 teams of 2 players. And then teammates must sit across from one another at the table, so you cannot look at each other's cards. And there is only one communal bowl, one bowl belonging to Team A, and one bowl belonging to Team B. Players then take turns in clockwise order, starting with Team A, Team B, Team A, and Team B again. And again, you can play ingredients into any bowl, but you can only gain points for your own team by scoring either the communal bowl or their own team's bowl. You can also play this game solo by yourself, and that works exactly the same way as a 2-player game. You set up the game the same with the 3 bowls. You're going to use them all, except when after shuffling the deck and before setting out the fridge and drawing your cards, you discard 4 cards from the stack, and you can't look at those. They're just removed from the game, and then you just put the fridge out and draw your 4 cards and play as normal. And once the entire deck is empty and all the cards in the fridge have been consumed and all the cards from your hands have been played, then you simply check your dishes to see how many points you scored, and the rulebook has a table here that tells you how well you did, and it awards you with stars depending on the number of points you have in total. So it's basically a puzzle of managing your cards as well as you can. The rulebook also has a page with some frequently asked questions, which tells you that, for example, all the cards in the fridge are open information, and if you pick one, make sure that everybody saw it. The number of served bowls is also open information, but you can't peek in the bowls to see what cards have been played. But that is basically all you need to know to play Ramen Ramen. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Ramen Ramen by Japanime Games. Let's start with the components. You only get basically a deck of cards, and the cards are of a good normal quality, and they feel nice, and I don't feel the need to sleeve them really. They have a nice finish, and you also get these 3 dishes, these bowls, bigger cards that are the size of the box, so also the box isn't bigger than it really needs to be. So that is nicely done. I think the components are good. There's not much special about them really. It's just cards, so you can't really go wrong there. The artwork is also pretty nice. Now the box does suggest a very anime style game with a lovely character on the cover, but in the game you basically just get this illustration of the bowls in different colors, and you get all the different ingredients. So you basically have the same noodle background here, these ramen noodles, and you have the ingredient of all the different kinds that you have on these cards on top. So, I mean, they look like the ingredients, of course, that they are meant to be, and that's just fine. I think that works. It's nothing really special, but it's okay. So that works as well. I do like the backs of the cards, actually. Really nicely done. A bit of an abstract bowl of ramen there. The theme is fun. It's okay. You're basically collecting ingredients, and you're trying to make your dishes as varied as possible to get more points, of course. And you also need to take into account the numbers on them, which is very clearly noted here. And well, so the theme is a bit loose. Could have probably been anything, but I like it. It's It's unique. It's food. You don't, well, you do see plenty of games with food, but not that many, I think. There's so many kinds of fantasy games or sci-fi games or whatever, steampunk. So a game with food in it is generally nice. I also like games like Sushi Go or Sushi Roll, you know, the Japanese food. Pretty fun. So then let's start to talk about the gameplay, because that's, of course, where the meat, so to speak, of the game is. It's a very simple game. It's a light game. You're basically just picking numbers and colors, because that's what it is. They're basically 7 suits of different colors. And sometimes when we'd play, we'd actually say things like, oh yeah, I'll take the 4 of Menma. You know, or the 3 of nori, and I'll play the 7 of negi on this red dish. So, I mean, that's pretty fun. It's humorous, and what you're doing is you're basically trying to calculate which cards you can put on which dish, because you want as many possible different ingredients on your dishes. So you want to play low numbers, but if you constantly play low numbers, then that means you will be stuck in the end with higher numbers. So you need to switch it up a bit. You need to try and optimize the numbers on the cards and the amount of ingredients to get to 14 or over, which is also strategy, because when you're at 13 points, and you have a high card of a different ingredient, you can play it on that dish because it only triggers when it's 14 or more. So you could keep those high cards to finish a dish with. And then, you know, at the end, when you've played both your cards, you collect that dish and that's yours. And it's also a bit of pressure luck, because when you're not playing solo, which is a completely different game. You're playing alone, so you can divide your ingredients however you see fit, and it's a lot more easy to get higher scores than with actual other players, because then, you know, you might be trying to put as many ingredients in a dish, but when will you stop, and when will you push it over 14? Because if you don't, then the other player might just do it, and it might just be 5 points, you know, five different cards, which is 5 points. And you wanted 6 or maybe even 7, but you do have this handy reference card that has all the points on them, so you can constantly see, well, how many points do I want to score? 4 different cards, that's just 3 points, so I want to kind of continue, and I'm probably sure that my opponent wants to as well. We're early in the game, we still have plenty of low cards, so I'm just going to press my luck and play another low card, and hopefully I can get 6 or maybe even 7 cards on this dish. Although chances are smaller, the more cards are on the dish, because somebody might just think, well, you know what, 5 points sounds good to me, so I'm putting here a 5th ingredient with a high number, which pushes it over 14, and that's mine. And there go your points. So it's pressure luck, it's trying to estimate what the other players are going to do, and it's, of course, a lot of counting. But I like that. It's simple enough and light enough that you can play this game a couple of times in a row, and which also brings me to the replayability, of course, which is another thing that I always review. It's a fast game. It's a simple game. So it has it's replayable as long as you want it to be, really. The game's the same every time. There's nothing different you can do. The rules are slightly different for the 2, 3, and 4 players, but it doesn't matter that much. And, well, it has a solo option, so if you just want it for the puzzle element, you can do that as well, which is a fun little pastime, but the competitive mode is more fun, I think. So yeah, I mean, you could play this a couple of times if you feel like it, or you could just play it as a quick filler in between other games. I'd say replayability is neutral. It's as fun as long as you think it stays fun, and you can just put it away when you're done with it, or play it several times. So that's very personal, I think. Language dependency, technically it's language independent. I mean, it does have the names of the ingredients on it in both Japanese and just English. So it has menma and ajitama for the eggs, and negi for the green onions, I believe, and it does say, actually, that's kind of cool, on this scoring card, on the card that tells you how many points you score with different ingredients, what they are. So ajitama is eggs, chashu is pork, kamaboko is fish cake, menma is bamboo, negi is green onion, nori is seaweed, and shiitake is mushrooms. So you kind of can tell from the illustrations, but if you're not familiar with ramen bowls, then the card does explain it to you, which is a nice touch. So other than that, the game is completely language independent because you have your colors and your numbers, and that's basically all you need to know. The whole ingredient thing, what they actually are, is theme, and it's not really important for the gameplay. So language independent. In the end, I do quite enjoy this game. Giving it a thumbs up. It's very light. It's a filler game, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a nice, fun game to bring along in a little compact box that's easy to bring along, fun to play. I'd like to thank Japanime Games for sending this over to review. Very much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. As I said, don't forget to subscribe, and please check out my Patreon page if you'd like to support what I do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.